Hey, good morning. We are officially 5 minutes late, so let's get rolling. Welcome. It's an early, and it's only the second day. It's only second day of the month, and sometimes when the second day of the month is the first Tuesday of the month, we get people forgetting that it's even office meeting time. So here we are. All right, cool. Hey, and we've got a lot to get through today because we have a double sponsor, so we want to make sure we give them some time, so I'm going to roll through. So vendors, if you're not sponsoring today, you've got 37 seconds. All right, so Jerry, you better be fast, and I don't care what it is.
Jerry Papa. I'm the broker-owner of Gulfview Realty Property Management, your preferred property management company, based in the West Chase office of Future Home Realty. We pay referral fees. We promise to never steal your customer, and we are a full-service company that serves all of Tampa Bay. I'd like to introduce to you Melissa Burnell. She is my new assistant, and she is in the West Chase office. So if you're ever in there, please say hello. And Melissa comes to us from a variety of background, including she's also a student at USF. I've laid on your table a charity that is taking place this Saturday here in West Chase. Yeah, it is a little warm in here, isn't it? I can't believe this is October. This is a charity that benefits the West Chase schools, and it's one of the official crews of Gasparilla, etc. And we are the golf ball sponsor of the event, so everybody will be playing with the Gulfview Realty Property Management golf balls.
Perfect, and all the information's on the folder. All right, great, perfect. Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it. All right. Okay, that was 48 seconds. We're 11 minutes late. 37, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good to see you.
Nice to see you. Hey, everyone. I'm Kevin Overstreet. I'm the owner of Insured Title right next door to your main office here in West Chase. Don't want to talk about that because I only have 20 seconds left. Please check out title-update.com and just read through that website that we've created. It's a new company that we've just started a few months ago, and title fraud is a huge thing. It's becoming much huger. I know that's not a word, but
sure it is.
And we've created a way to protect your buyers from it, and more importantly to you, to make it a lead source for you. And it's very effective. It's working. So check that out. Call us if you need more info.
Awesome. Great. Perfect.
Title-update.com.
Awesome. Janet, where will you both go?
Good morning, everyone. I'm Janet Shaw with Old Republic Exchange Company. We are a qualified intermediary for 1031 tax-deferred exchanges. I'm a West Chase resident, but I work out of the West Shore office, and I cover the whole state of Florida.
Awesome. Great deal. Perfect. Tiffany.
Hi,
How are you?
everyone. Great. How are you?
Great.
Happy birthday. by
Thank
the way.
you. Belated.
I'm Tiffany with State Insurance. We have about 30 different carriers, so we like to say we have a market for everything. We exist to provide excellent customer service for our referral partners and your customers. So thank you.
Awesome. Good deal. How's motherhood?
Awesome.
Good deal.
Exhausting.
Exhausting. There you go.
Hi, good
Tiffany.
morning.
How are you?
Done?
I'm sorry. Sarah.
Next.
It's Tiffany.
okay.
My bad.
Sarah Hash, Equity National Title. And if everyone has a pen and a paper, please write down this book. It is called Exactly What to Say by, forgot his name, Phil M. Jones. And it's going to help you close more listing appointments and more buyer leads over the phone.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Good deal. And you posted it on your Facebook page anyway.
did,
Yeah,
yeah.
perfect. Good deal. Brian.
Hi, Brian Brown, Old Republic Home Warranty. Real quick, I think last time I was there, I was telling they were going to split my territory. Well, I think that's finally going to happen in November. And Cameron Foster will be the new rep for Hillsborough and your Wesley Chapel office.
Okay.
And I will have all of Pinellas, which mean the Seminole office and the Newport Richey office.
Okay.
So if you're an agent who's in the Pinellas board, but your license is here, that's okay. Just make sure that you're in the Seminole office in our system. Then you get me. If
In
not,
your
you'll end
system.
up with Cameron. Yeah.
Okay.
In my system, you don't have to actually move your license.
Got it.
So, and one more thing real quick. Don't forget, Freon goes away January 2020. That's only
So
15
there's going to be
months.
no air conditioning anymore in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah.
That's what we're saying.
That's pretty much it. No, it's just gonna get expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
do a
Good deal.
warranty.
Perfect. Good deal. And I didn't skip David Rankin. David Rankin owns American Patriot Title, and he is going to come back up here in just a second. Any other vendors I missed other than the people that are sponsoring? We've got a couple people sponsoring. No? Hey, Joe Elmer, how are you? Got you mid-bite. Good deal. Hey, couple things. Oh, housekeeping. What do we got going on? Maureen. You guys know Maureen? Say hi to Maureen. All right, good deal. All right.
Dues are coming out this week, so for any reason you have any changes, you need to let me know today. 'Cause
Yes.
I'm setting everything up. We've got Amy Huth is our dues admin. You're gonna start seeing stuff from her. She is really with us. So a lot of people don't know who she is.
Yeah, with all the fraud
Yeah.
going on, right?
Right.
Who's this Amy
Right.
Huth? I've never heard of. She wants my credit card.
Yeah.
All right, absolutely. So if you have changes to your credit card or your ACH bank account, whatever method you
Let
use,
us
let
know.
us know. Perfect.
Yes.
Anything else file-wise? Everybody's files are perfect.
The one, we have two issues, assignment of contracts. If you have any contracts that have assignment, do not enter them without talking to Bob first, okay?
Absolutely.
And the second thing is if you have a corporation that is the buyer or the seller, please be sure when they sign the contract that it's not signed as the corporation, that it's an officer of the corporation that is signing. We have a lot of people, like Bob can't sign a contract signing it Future Home Realty. It would be Robert McDougall, president or owner or whatever. So,
Everybody understand that
yeah.
concept? Okay, so when you have a LLC, a lot of, because you got investors that are buying in LLCs,
Right.
so on and so forth. Okay, you got to have, and we have to know that it's the right person, by the way. So you should be investigating. Say, okay, where's your articles of incorporation? Where's your operating agreement that says you are authorized to bind this entity? Are you with me? Okay, so you want to be able to do that.
Yep.
Assignment of contracts. Okay, you got to run all signable contracts through me. All right. Even if it's just the checkbox, that, okay, if there's a reason behind it, we're good, all right? But I'm trying to make sure when the A to B to C concept, that we're not opening ourselves up for a can of bad news, all right? So I'm here to protect you on that. And then finally, there was something else. She reminded me about lease options. Remember, you cannot do a lease option without prior approval from me. Okay, you have to run any potential lease options by me, and when I give you your answer, you're probably going to say, "Well, the seller doesn't want to do that." I said, "No kidding. I'm trying to talk you out of this thing." All right, because it's just it's rife with some issues that are bound to potentially happen. There are ways to protect us, but the way to protect us is no non-refundable money on the front side. And most sellers are going to say, "Well, what the good is a lease option without non-refundable money on the front side?" I agree. As a seller, I would say the same thing. So do a lease, rent it, giving them the first right to buy it. All right? A lot simpler. That way, if something goes wrong and the buyer / tenant down the road can never come back to us and say, "Yeah, but I never thought of that, and now I'm 15 grand out." Okay? Whereas you had to live someplace anyway. Here's your security deposit back. You had to pay rent for the last 8 months. You had to live somewhere. No harm, no foul. Have a great day. 15 grand out of pocket that the seller's already spent, right? Now there's an issue. All right? And that's why we don't allow those. So you need to check with me, and I'll talk you out of them. The other thing I'm going to talk you out of, now that I'm just on a roll here, because that we see a lot are pre-occupancy by a buyer. "Oh, but it's just a couple things thrown into the garage. Oh, they just, it's really a hassle to try and coordinate closings." No flipping kidding, all right? It's been really hard to coordinate closings since Cain bought something from Cain, who killed who? All right, somebody killed, all right, bad example, way back, all right? Okay, way back. Matter of fact, they probably did it over a pre-occupancy agreement. We say that was the whole, Cain killed Abel because of that, all right? So with that in mind, you just don't do it, all right? Or if you're going to do it, I had one last night on the 100K Facebook page or the Just Us Agents Facebook page, can't remember what it was. They said, "What do you recommend?" I said, "My gut tells me not to do it." I said, "Your gut's right." All right, number one. Number two, "Yeah, but it's only for 4 days." All right, well, if you're going to do it, talk to an attorney or have your clients. They're the ones that are getting the benefit out of this. It's a lot easier not have to move twice, a lot easier not have to store my stuff for 4 days. It's a lot easier, I get that, but it's a lot easier not to have have your stuff burn in the garage that there's nobody's insurance to cover it. Because the owner says, "Well, but my insurance isn't to cover your Rembrandt," because I know you guys are all representing clients with Rembrandts, right? That they're going to store in a garage, all right? So that being said, we just want to avoid that, and if we have to, then at the very worst case scenario, we have an attorney draw it up, and the attorneys then will insist that there be a lease for 4 days created, all right? Can you do a 4-day lease? Sure you can. It's called Airbnb, all right? It's basically is what those things are. So just realize where we're going there. Okay, cool. So everybody knows how to check with us, all right, and get that stuff done. All right, David, you want to come up? So David Rankin's got we've limited, I'm going to stop talking so he can actually talk for 5 minutes, and I'm not going to say words. That's cool? All right?
Is that a promise?
That's a promise. All right, watch the chords, and you're good to go.
Okay.
All right, let you
All
hold
right.
that and that.
Okay. Every now and then you come across a situation where there's an elderly person who is, unbeknownst to you, or they disclose to you that she or he is on a slow descent into Alzheimer's. There are issues. And all these issues can be addressed as long as a person, when you meet them and when you have an opportunity to do something, is competent. And this is not a presentation to make you an expert in this area, but just to make you aware that there are issues. The problem with competency is that once the person descends into incapacity, then the only way that you can have an individual who has the capacity to sign a listing agreement or sign a contract or go to a closing and sign documents is if you have a guardian appointed. That takes $1,500 to $3,000 to do. So be aware when you have a description, mom is, the adult children are saying mom is, and always ask, well, how is mom's mental acuity, all right? The ultimate issue is, does she understand when you explain what's about to happen, or does she know who the president is? Does she know what date it is? Does she know what the day of the week is? These are typical questions that are asked, but you don't need to get into that kind of analysis. What you do is you raise the issue. Is there some Alzheimer's? Is there any doubt as far as her capacity or his capacity, all right? Raise that issue because it can be addressed. There is a power of attorney that can be created. And just for the education, 99.9% of realtors believe that there is a living individual who is a power of attorney. A power of attorney is a document, all right? Power of attorney is the document. The person, the individual appointed, is the attorney in fact, all right? So just one last point, it is just absolutely essential when you hear about an elderly person, whether you're speaking with them or you're talking to their adult children, raise the issue of, how is she doing? How is his or her mental acuity? Because once you get into incapacity, then you're talking big bucks, you're talking delay, 90 to 100 days, 120 days to get something done as far as the appointment of a guardian and expense. So always be aware, number one, that it's an issue, and number two, that there is a resolution.
Awesome, great. And so competency, does that apply to the agent on the other side as well?
Incapacity.
Okay. Are we allowed to ask those kind of questions of the other agent? Okay,
Sure.
All right, and if there's doubt, then we just need to go to their broker.
Any doubt, go to the broker. and
Okay,
say,
very good.
Is this
All right,
competent?
perfect. I just want to make sure. Just going back to all the deals I've done in my life, I'm just thinking about the other side. Yes, ma'am.
I was just going to ask them in the middle of this
Yeah.
right now that it's not always Alzheimer's. We actually have the buyer is terminally ill and has brain cancer, so he's been in and out of surgery. So he has his power of attorney, but we just learned that it has to be specific to the transaction for financing.
Very good.
That's right, for financing especially, the banks are going to want to say specific to this property. Right, yeah, absolutely. And you know what, that's a good thing, because I never thought the power of attorney is the document, the attorney in fact is the person.
That's right.
See, you come and you learn. Look at that, okay? Or you sit at home in your fuzzy bunny slippers if you're online right now and you learn, all right? But one way or another, you're learning because you're there, all right?
That's why attorneys can empty out a room at any party,
Right, absolutely, see?
all I'm gonna say.
I run from you 100%. People say, knock on my door. You Bob McDougall? Who's asking? All right, because usually there's some type of subpoena or service notice being thrown in my chest. Dad, come on, say no next time. All right, got to remember that. All right, cool. So thank you, David. Appreciate that. Here's the thing. You know what? Just again, another reminder. Is it important? Two things. To make sure you understand that the person that is signing, whether it be for the buyer or as the seller, truly has the right to sign. Okay, that's why, we implore you to do preliminary title searches when you list a property, all right? Because public records aren't always dead on, all right? Yeah, their name matches in the public records. Oh, it says Susan in here, but it's You know what I mean? It is so important to make sure, because that can alleviate things down the road if you catch them on the front side. It's part of what we do. It's part of our job is to make sure that we've got the truly interested parties, all right, consummating the contract. Are you with me? All right, so it's critical to be able to do that. And on the buy side as well, like we just brought up, if they're representing a corporation or LLC, okay, great. Did you make that up? You just woke up and said, hey, look, it's the way my alphabet soup looked this morning, so I decided to call my company ZYQRT, all right, Inc. Okay, show me evidence that you are that and that you have the ability to bind that entity. Fair enough? Okay, important stuff to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. By the way, Sarah, now I thank you for Sarah brought you made those this morning? I made them this morning. So make sure you have a cupcake before you have my permission. Unless you're in 100K, then you're not allowed to have it. All right, 100K, what's that?
It was your birthday 12 days ago.
12, see, that's what it's all about. All right, perfect. So those are but they were not made 12 days ago. All right, just so you know. All right, they were made today. Cool, awesome. All right, who wants to go first? You guys. I don't think I got your PowerPoint, by the way, so can you wing it? All right, oh, you can just show it to on your phone, and I can walk it around the place. All right, so we have Patty Harrison.
That's it.
All right, Patty, and she's going to tell us who she's with, and you were told about us from Doreen Gonzalez, right?
Doreen introduced
well,
us,
very
yes.
good.
Thank you, Doreen.
Awesome. So this does not project your voice,
Okay.
all right, so it's not a microphone, but
Okay.
it is a microphone in the fact that it's going to pick it up for our internet
Got
watchers,
it.
okay?
All right,
Cool.
thank
I'll
you
let go.
so much. I am Patty Harrison, as he said, and this is my son, Kyle Harrison. We are with TBIG Insurance. I'm the owner of it. We were formerly Tampa Bay Insurance Group and changed it to TBIG so we could market throughout the entire state of Florida. So we are an independent agency. I've been in practice for 15 years. Prior to that, had 5 Allstate agencies. So we know insurance. We know Florida requirements, and they're very fussy. Florida is its own little beast, and you need to make sure you have an insurance agent that knows what they're doing when they're writing the policy. So what we've learned is that we are very proactive with our clients, and we make sure that all of our underwriting is done ahead of time before we provide that quote. We can give you a quick quote, give you a very quick estimate of what a property might be, but we're going to make sure we do that underwriting up front so there's no problems when you get to that closing table. We want to make sure everything's smooth and easy. We also believe that the relationship that we establish with our referral sources is so important, and ultimately it's about you trusting us with your clients and us making you look good with your clients. So we're going to be very responsive, we're going to be accurate, and we're going to be very quick to get back to you and your clients. We have 37 different property insurance carriers that we have direct appointments with. And that allows us to pretty much write any property you have. If it's a prior sinkhole, right on the water, short-term rental, whatever it might be. If that owner is an LLC or in the name of a trust, we can write that property for you. So no matter what's going on, we have something. If it's not going to be an admitted market, we can always find a broker market for your clients. In the handout that's on the table in front of you, common inspection hazards. So it's really important that you know what to look for, what not to look for. It's our job to guide your clients and our clients through this, but it's good just to have the education. There's some color photos that give you examples. If you don't have a copy of this in front of you, if you want to give me your business card or email me, I'll be happy to send you a digital copy so you have that as well. Kyle's going to go over some underwriting. Also, we are getting some extensive flood training this week. Would be happy to do another presentation on flood insurance if any of you are concerned about that. There's some big changes coming to flood. We have 7 private flood companies, which is now very valid, and people are using that more than NFIP. So we have 7 different private flood markets, as well as carriers that we can endorse flood insurance onto the homeowner's policy. So you now have options. You're not just forced into the NFIP box. We can help you with a lot of different options. Kyle, do you want to go over the hazard?
Sure,
this is Kyle.
Morning, everyone online, everyone here. Thank you for having us here today. For those who did not get the handout, it wasn't anything pointing at you guys specifically, just didn't know there's going to be so many realtors. So good thing. But anyways, as you'll see, the first section of that pamphlet, you'll see it focuses on the roof. There's certain types of shingles that are 15 years old. Those are those 3-tab shingles where it's just a single smooth layer. You can go up to 15 years old. Some companies will go up to 20. but typically 15 is the general cutoff point before they need to be completely replaced. 20-year-old roof, those are more so for architectural or dimensional shingle, where they're the offsetting shingles. Typically, you can go up to 20. A lot of times, if there's a lot of excessive deterioration or curling or lifting of the shingles, companies are most likely going to ask those clients to replace the roof. Tile roof, 25, 30 years in most companies. Some, they go up to 50 even, as long as it's in good condition, it has over 5 years of remaining life. And then the last portion of the roof, that's a major concern with some companies, are patched roofs. So there's some clients who have a 12-year-old shingle roof, and there is a minor leak, and they fix a certain patch. We have about 3 or 4 companies that do not like patched roofings, but we still have a majority of our marketplace open through the admitted market for those patched roofings. Another section that we focus on is the electrical. 4-point, it focuses on 4 points, is roof, electrical, plumbing, HVAC. The biggest issue with electrical, as you'll see, a lot of the older homes, especially in Tampa, lately I've been finding more and more homes with cloth wiring. You're not really going to have an option outside of Citizens or the not admitted carrier marketplace for those homes with cloth wiring. Also, if there's any amps that are under, or any panels under 100 amps, most companies want to see at least 100 or 150 amps in the panel or higher. Another issue that we run into is single-strand aluminum wiring without the proper remediation techniques. As you'll see on the pamphlet, some of the things that are proper remediation techniques are Aluminicon connectors, pull my mic up, and crump connection. If it's a multi-strand 220-volt aluminum wiring that services the appliances and the home systems like the AC unit, stove, oven, things like that, not a concern. It's just when it's wired throughout the majority of the home, that's when it's a concern. Plumbing, we're running into this a lot lately. Galvanized plumbing, more and more companies are not fans of galvanized plumbing just because of the plumbing losses that have been on the rise steadily in the last 2 years, and water claims filed for those type of plumbing lines. Also, polybutylene is a big no. Old PEX, if it's older than 2010, 2011, a majority of carriers do not like PEX plumbing that are older than 2010. So if it's newer than 2010, 2011, majority of the companies are going to be fine with it. And then also, water heaters that are over 15 years old. If it's in the garage, some companies will go up to 25 years for the water heater. If it's inside the home, or if you're with a picky carrier, then it's going to be 15 years flat, no ifs, ands, or buts. You got to replace it either before closing or within 30 days after closing. And then we have, what else? The HVAC unit. Just as long as it's in good working order, majority of the companies will take it up to 25 years. We actually have a couple carriers. If there is no HVAC, there's about 2 or 3 carriers that will accept window units as the primary source of heat and cool. Some of the unacceptable conditions, any active leaks, any signs of a leak, corrosion on plumbing pipes and shutoff valves can be a potential issue. Those are cheap fixes that can be done on your own time. But those are majority of the issues what we find today.
And if you're selling a home and you find that there's problems with that home, you can contact us. We can get a 30 to 45 day window that'll allow the new homeowner to make those corrections, and we can still bind that policy for closing. So we have the relationship with underwriters. If you run into a problem with the roof, with something, you can call us, as long as there's not an active, like a hole in the roof and water's coming through. If there's a contract with a roofing company to have that repaired within 30 to 45 days, we can find that policy for you. So there's a lot of things that are changing with insurance. There's a lot of fraud going on, so they're being very careful about inspections. You want to make sure you align yourself with a really good inspection service. I'm sure most of you have people that you trust, but just make sure in August the forms were updated on inspections, so we have to make sure that the inspectors are using the correct forms. We have a list of inspectors I'd be happy to share with anybody who would like some recommendations. I have about 12 inspectors, but 3 or 4 of them are my favorite that are really responsive, well-priced, and can get it done within 24 hours typically. So if anybody needs information on that, we're happy to help you with that as well. Any questions, anything that, yes ma'am?
With regard to outdated wiring, the cloth and the single strand, you said there's only 2 companies that will insure those types of...
For the cloth wiring, outside of non-admitted marketplace or the excess carriers, it would typically be Citizens only, as long as it's in good condition. Single strand, we have 2 companies that are admitted, Citizens and People's Trust. They'll accept single strand aluminum wiring. And then we also have our surplus non-admitted market. It's going to be a price tag associated. It's pretty hefty.
So the price will be higher with any of the companies when you have outdated wiring. They'll insure you, but at a higher price.
Yeah, there's a.
Well, the companies that are going to be...
A fire.
Yes,
High risk.
it's an increased fire hazard because the ampage that's put out through breakers today wasn't designed with those wires back when they were issued for the public use. Majority of the companies will just say they're not going to take the risk. So it's not really where your rate's going to go up. They're like, oh, you have electrical wiring. That's cloth. That's a $200 increase. It's just we're not going to insure you. And then a company that you may have wanted to go with is no longer an option. So that's where the issue is. Any other questions?
I was just going to share one more. Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Where are you guys located at?
We're in St. Petersburg, right across the bridge, right across the Howard Franklin Bridge. So that we right from Key West to the Panhandle, we're pretty much the entire state. Insurance score is a new thing in insurance as well, where they're looking at your previous claim history as well as a financial scoring. It's not really a credit report, but it's an insurance score. If you know you have a client that has great credit, it's always good to let us know that because we can place them with a carrier that really gives almost 40% discount for people who have good credit. So it can make a huge swing on the premium for insurance. If somebody's not so great, their DTI isn't so good, let us know that too because there's carriers who don't look at insurance scoring. We can just direct it that direction. So we'll find the right carrier for all of your clients. So anything else? Any questions? All right, well, thank you for listening to us. Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thanks. Appreciate it, Kyle.
Thank you.
So, and quick reminder too, those of you who haven't been to any of our office meetings before, we don't have any preferred lenders, preferred title companies, preferred insurance companies, preferred anybody. We have people that we do business with that we put in front of you. A lot of times, like for instance, these people were introduced to us from Doreen. So that's great, and they bring it. Trust me, we're the #2 volume producer in all of Florida. Okay, well, in all of my Florida regional MLS, the #2 company in the state. So vendors pay attention, and they want to come hang out with you. All right, so you guys, it's a sign that you're doing a good job because we got a lot of vendors that are knocking down our door. That's why we have 2 vendors today, is because we can't get them all in 1 year, right? To get everybody once a year that are looking to do it. And again, there's no financial agreement between any of us and any of the vendors that I'm putting in front of you. They just do a good job, and we trust them to do so. All right, so cool. So Victoria, you want to come on up? Yes. So Victoria is with Veterans Escrow and Title, and you came to us. Who introduced you to us? Oh, awesome. Good deal. The SAC. Are you part of their B&I group?
I am.
Awesome. Good. Come on up. Good deal. Perfect. You hold this.
Okay.
You want me to pass that around and make sure everybody has a card in there?
Yes, please.
Okay, perfect. Now remember, it's not projecting your voice, so you're going to have to go nice and loud.
Okay.
All right? And she has a drawing, I guess, so if you have a card, get one out and get it ready to go. I'll let you start going.
All right. My name is Victoria Pagan with Veterans Escrow and Title, and I am the VP of Operations. We are located in the Seven Oaks Professional Park in Wesley Chapel. Is this the clicker here?
You're going to have to boom it out! All right? I'm going to use my youngest son, Samuel. I said, I guess you're going to go hungry then. Give me now, people don't eat.
Thank you.
All right.
All right. So my name is Victoria Pagan with Veterans Escrow and Title, and I am the VP of Operations. We are located in Seven Oaks Wesley Chapel in the Seven Oaks Professional Park. And regarding our services, we provide residential and commercial services throughout Florida, escrow services, electronic closings nationwide, along with mobile closings nationwide at no cost. We also provide access to Qualia for realtors, lenders, buyers and sellers, borrowers of course, and that is a completely secure software as well. We are available before and after business hours and on the weekends, should you need. And so our difference is we are essentially on call when you need us. Status is always provided as far as milestone updates, commitment availability, lien searches, estoppels, and also we do provide access to Breakthrough Broker at no charge for marketing material, business and marketing plans, lead generation, and social media marketing. We do also offer access to title capture, so you can generate instant title quotes and seller net sheets. Of course, we can do that for you as well, but should you prefer to do it on your own, you have that option. In our office, GTAR is also located within our office, so should you need anything from them as well. Victoria Pagan, Veterans Escrow and Title.
Very nice. That was nice and quick.
Nice and sweet.
How many of you guys know Ryan and Leanne Sack? Ryan and Leanne, so they started a B&I group up in the Wesley Chapel area, so and you're with them, so great agents. Any questions of her? I didn't know the GTAR, so GTAR satellite office?
Satellite office we opened about, 2-3 months ago?
Yes.
Awesome.
And it's temporary because we're looking for a bigger space.
Right.
Where we can also hold classes out there as well.
Awesome. Good deal.
In fact, I'll have that meeting after this.
See, look at that. Awesome. You want to pick a card or a winner?
Yes, we actually have 5 items to raffle.
5?
5.
Okay, she comes fully loaded.
All right, so it'll be the items starting from left to right. So Joe Elmer.
Joe Elmer, where'd he go?
The first
He
item.
just stepped off. Did he leave?
He's talking to Pat.
Oh, okay, very good. All right.
And Sherry Lowry.
Jerry, nice. Joe, you won. Nicely done. Yeah, it is a good thing.
Pamela Gomez.
Pamela, nice.
And Rebecca.
Front. There you go. Awesome. Front. Is there a little?
Put it there.
I put it there.
A lot of people be afraid.
Okay. All right. Very good. Awesome.
And Marina, I'm sorry. Livia.
Marina. Nice. So those are our 5 winners. All right. Go in there and hurry. Looks like they didn't go left or right. They just picked the one they wanted.
That's fine.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you. Cool. All right. So, real quickly, I want to cover a couple things. How many of you guys have heard of the term iBuyer? Seen it? Okay. It's kind of hip right now. What it is if you read Inman at all, Inman, if you guys know Inman, Brad Inman puts out a real estate blog that he's kind of the go-to guy, right? So Keller Williams just came out with, hey, they've been secretly testing an iBuyer program, all right? Okay, Coldwell Banker. Guess what? Here's what an I stands for, not I mean I is instant, right? For me, all right, because I've had some agents reach out to me, how are we going to compete against that? Well, guess what? You better have done it, because I had to compete against it in 1993, all right? When people would come to us and say, hey, look, I got my guaranteed sale program. How many of you heard of the guaranteed sale program? Okay, it's an iBuyer. Right? There's no difference. The guaranteed sale program just says that, hey, look, I'll put it on the market, and if we don't get a market, if it doesn't sell within 30 days, I'll buy it for about 42% of your price, okay? Well, Jim had a good point earlier when he and I were discussing it too. No flipping kidding, all right? I'll buy it as well. If you're gonna sell it to me for the right price, I'll buy any home for the right price, okay? So, well, I say that now. There was a time in Detroit when they were houses for $1 and they couldn't give them away, but now that's all turned around a little bit too. So here we go. That being said, don't feel that your lack of an iBuyer program is going to do it. Okay, here's ones that will jog your memory a little bit. OfferPad, right? Home. What's the other one? Open Door. All right. Okay. exactly. So these things, what I'm trying to tell you, and Tom can attest to this, or any of you have been around long enough, these things have been around a while. It's just called a different name. All right? So don't freak out when your people, and again, if there is a segment of the selling population that's going to say, hey, look, I'm willing to give up a certain portion of my equity. I'm willing to sell for below market value for the convenience of not having people trot into my home 15 times and not have to worry. They're just give me, it's an eBay buy it now, okay? It's just what it is. It's a, hey, look, I'll buy it from you now for this price, all right? Fair enough? If your clients are interested in that, say, hey, look, you should investigate that. I mean, you allow them, hey, look, are you willing, all right, you should know what it's all about. Are you willing to allow yourself a chance at what the open market might bring for your property in order to sell for a reduced price now? Because they have to buy it for a reduced price. Well, they're going to pay market value, so they say. And a lot of times they have been coming closer to market value right now, but I think that's about to change. Why? Because they were betting on 6 to 7 to 8% appreciation, which is not going to happen forever. At least we hope it doesn't. Because if it continues to happen, all right, which it's already started to slow down, we're going to get into that discussion next. But if that happens, then we're at 2008 and go watch The Big Short and we'll tell you all about what you need to know. Let's not repeat history, all right? So what we're going to hopefully get to a point where we're going to start to taper off. We're going to start to see a softening of the market. Now, softening is not a bad thought here, all right? We cannot continue at 7 or 8% appreciation annually forever. Because if you do so, you're going to continue to price people out of the market because there's just no way that wages can do it. Or what ends up happening is then lenders, whether they're forced by the government, a la 2007 to 2008 to 2004 to 2007, all right, forced to lend money to people who can't afford these homes, all right, and they're going to create all sorts of programs to contort them into an approval, right, when every actuary in the world says, it's not going to happen. It's not their fault. We're just setting it up for a bad, it can't happen, right? It's just not, the debt to income ratios were not something that somebody picked out of their head, right? There's a reason why back in the day, 28 and 36 used to be some pretty hard, firm debt to income ratios that we abided by, that lenders did. It's because they knew, the actuaries knew that, hey, look, if we stay within those guidelines, our chances of foreclosure are about 3%. If we step outside those guidelines, our chances of foreclosure actually multiply by about 7 times. Right? It's exponential. It's not just, it just goes up. It's just the numbers are the numbers. Our insurance people brought up the whole concept that they're doing insurance evaluations. They don't want to call it a credit check, all right? But here's the reality, all right? People with 480 credit scores tend to slip and fall more than people without them. It's just, I mean, we can joke about it all we want. We can say it's not true, all right? But Morgan & Morgan rides the backs of 480 credit scores, all right? So every time I tell people that own companies that are ambulance chasing Morgan & Morgan types, hey, look, I think about you once a month. When's that? When I pay my insurance bill. Why? Well, because you're living in your mansion fighting for legalization of marijuana because of all the insurance claims that you were able to get, and insurance companies just say, hey, look, and by the way, when's the last time you saw an insurance company go out of business? They don't. What do? They raise the premiums on the people who pay the bills. Okay? It's a fact. All right? So you guys, in Orlando, we get a lot of Dan Got Me. You guys know Dan Newland. Dan Got Me. All right? It's the Morgan & Morgan of Orlando, but Dan Got Me, and they have all these people holding their $387,000, right? And just the reality is, who got you? Well, I paid for part of your $387,000, all right? So that being said, realize that we can't afford to have these things go on forever, and a softening of the market's not a bad thing. We're starting to see it. Back, when did Gary Keller write Shift? Okay, he wrote a book called Shift, and you know what it was? It said, hey guys, the market's gonna shift. I could have wrote a book that said, the tide's gonna go out, okay? And if I had thought of it, right? No kidding, all right? Markets shift, right? That's just part of what makes a market a market. There are cycles in any market. There has to be, all right? Just like when the tide comes in, the tide goes out. That's how do we navigate that, right? How do we navigate that properly? I'll tell you this, that is it a bad thing that we start to have a little inventory in the market again? Is it going to be a bad thing that days on the market might start to creep up a little bit? Because if you understand economics enough, days on market increasing means that your buyers now can negotiate and actually have a chance and not be out there to rush to get the first offer in. I don't care if the roof is falling in. It's a house. All right, I'll take it. Because I got rejected. I lost out on highest and best on the last 8 that I did. So dadgummit, come hell or high water, and sometimes it is high water, speaking of flood, right? I'll take it, right? And so we put ourselves in bad situations. We're not making sound, educated decisions. Fair enough? I like a good equilibrium in a market means that people are making sound decisions, all right? And we like sound decisions because that is what a free market's all about. A free market says, hey, look, you know, interested buyer, willing seller, negotiate themselves to a reasonable price. Okay? Fair enough? Cool? All right, so you start to see the pictures of, oh no, we're at the tip of the iceberg and now they're implying that we're going to fall. No, I think that if we do it soon enough, and I think we're on that way, that hopefully we've learned the lessons of 08 and 09, that now we can, instead of doing this to this, right, we can get to this. Well, it wasn't even that. It was more like this, and then we can kind of plateau and just kind of glide. All right? If we glide at a nice 2 to 3% appreciation, then that's a good thing. You understand that your parents, well, your parents' parents probably, I'm talking to a younger group, okay? Your parents' parents never looked at their home as it was not their way for a trip to Europe, okay? What so many people are saying, look at all the equity I have in my home, let's cash it out, and I've always wanted to go to Paris. Speaking of which, here's a great thing, all right? So I told you, you guys notice I'm not handshaking right now, I'm fist bumping everybody because it's flu season and I don't touch anybody during flu season. How you doing? All right, good to see you. I'll thumbs up and I'll air fist bump you, all right, from a distance. To that extent, I've got a rowing machine, right, at home, because I don't want to go to the gym either, because the gyms are a cesspool as well, all right? And it's okay. So what's that? You got issues. I do. All right. So you know what? It all stemmed from last year. I was flying. I moved. I have 2 houses now because of this thing, right? Okay, because I refused to get on an airplane during flu season. I was flying from Nashville to here, and last flu season, I could not stay healthy, all right, for the life of me. So I said, forget it. So now we've got a home here, and as soon as I bring the dog, we know we're here for a while, right? So the dog's with us, and we're in Windermere, and we've got a place there. But that being said, make it this one of your goals. Jeanette, she's more of a treadmill. I was a rowing machine guy, but she bought this. And again, this is something that it's a more expensive treadmill, but this thing kills it. It's a Nordic track, but you know where I did my workouts in the last 5 days? Salzburg, Austria, Paris, France. All right. Yesterday I was in the Grand Tetons. All right. I'm talking full screen color. All right. And I'm talking this hot 24-year-old trainer that's leading me. All right. I'm like, right. It's like, which one are you going to choose? I'm choosing that one. Right. Okay. If that's not motivation, then nothing is. Right. Okay. Then, I'm going with that one. How was the workout? I don't know. All right. But it was great. How was your trainer? She was good. All right. That being said, and they have great looking guides on there too for you ladies. Make it a goal. It's like $2,500. It's expensive, right? But gym membership's expensive too. But I'm just telling you this thing, and because it mixes these workouts, mix cardio and everything else, and weights and everything else. It's all in there. So make that a goal to get there. I'm just telling you. So why was I? Oh, keeping healthy, something. France. Oh yeah. So there's your trip to France, right? Thank you very much. You don't have to cash out refi on your home to afford a trip to France. It's $2,500, and you've got to work out, and you get to go. I got to walk along the scene. I'm walking along. I'm doing a light jog. Next thing you know, doing some weights, and I'm doing shoulder presses in front of Notre Dame. It was awesome. It was like, this is right on, all right? It was cool. So anyway, that being said, we have gotten to the point your parents did not look at their home as their checkbook, right? If they could live on that thing and pay off the mortgage in 15 to 30 years, then they owned it outright. They lived there, right? It wasn't, a situation where it was just this. So this whole idea that we expect things to go up in value and they must go up in value is kind of a farce, right? If it just maintained its value at the same, but you paid it off, okay, why not, right? The whole idea that we're supposed to, and by the way, okay, a little personal responsibility. I know I like to step on toes, so and sometimes stomp. You know what? When things go down like they did, okay, well, whose fault is that? Is it their fault? No. Is it your fault? Maybe no. All right, but did you sign a note? Where in the world, and I saw this when we started doing short sales, I was like, what's a short sale, right? They said a short sale is where the bank agrees to accept less than what they're owed. I said, why would they do that? They've got a signed contract with you called a mortgage on your home, and the note says you owe them this amount of money. It doesn't say you owe them that amount of money unless the equity goes away. It says they owe you owe that amount of money, right? Well, I saw it only took 6 months from the sellers being overwhelmingly grateful that a seller would be, that a mortgage company would, you're telling me you're going to wave a magic wand over this debt? That's amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you to dadgummit, it's my right. I'm owed a short sale. Well, excuse me? All right, so if I bought stock in IBM and it shrank in value, I have a right to say, dadgummit, somebody needs to make up the difference? No, but that's where we went in a hurry, by the way, and that's human nature, right? And so just be aware of that. Take personal responsibility on your own stuff. Look at the market. You need to analyze this stuff. You need to know where the market's going. Is it true that the market is beginning to soften? Yes. Is it true that that's actually a pretty good thing? Yes, in my opinion, right? That we can have a nice equal balance. And by the way, when we stay out of the way and let the markets do what they're supposed to do, all right, balance will be achieved, all right? Okay, it's pretty amazing. Read Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, all right? It's written in 17 way back, all right? But it's an economics book, basically, that will just tell you how, look, in a free and open society, markets correct themselves without us having to step in and try and manipulate them. Are you with me? All right? So, good news is that if you're representing buyers, is that you're going to start seeing less and less, in my opinion, all right? I'll write a book on this, all right? Less and less, okay, of the tide's going out, is the name of the book. The less and less multiple offer situations, all right? We're not there all the way yet. I know we still have a lot of activity, but less and less multiple offer situations is not a bad thing. When we are in a frenzied market, frenzied markets usually are not willing buyer, willing seller at the end of the day. You've got a begrudging buyer who's paying higher than they think they should, probably, all right, because they have frustrated because they lost out on the last 6 highest and best. Fair enough? All right. That being said, did you know that in our ranks, Future Home Realty, in our ranks, we have the state of Florida, Florida Realtors, used to be called Association, used to be called FAR, now it's FUR, right? Florida Realtors, we have the Florida Realtors Realtor of the Year, all right? And that is Tom Scaglione. Tom, come on up. All right. So there's a lot involved in getting that. That's big news, all right? So that's huge, that's part of who we are and that Tom's part of who we are. So Tom, tell us a little bit. You want to sit and chat for a little bit?
Sure,
okay,
why not?
Perfect. Remember, that doesn't project your voice.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about maybe just your background, your history, kind of where you've come from and that kind of stuff.
Well, I was born and raised right here in Tampa. Grew up in Seminole Heights.
Okay.
Right across the street from Robles Park, believe it or not. Used to play Little League Baseball and sandlot football and fish in the lake and so forth, when I was a kid. In fact, One day I was out there fishing in the lake and I stepped on a log that turned out to be an alligator. I was about 12 years old. It scared the living you-know-what out of me. I ran all the way home. But my background basically is for 22 years, I did architectural design and general contracting. I designed whole subdivisions in the town and country area. There's probably 5 or 6 subdivisions in Brandon that every house there I drew the plans for. I did a lot of custom stuff for people, and I did some commercial stuff as well, some doctor's offices, dentist's offices, warehouses, and things of that nature, strip centers, and so forth over that 22-year period. And in 1974, we went through a crunch. And I decided that, the market just fell apart like it did in '08. There was nobody that was building anything. There was nobody that was doing anything. And so I had a friend of mine that owned a car dealership right there on Dale Mabry and Lambright. And I went there to work for 3 months or so to gain some money. And within that 3-month period of time, I became their #1 salesperson. And I used to get people to, let me take you out of your car and let you go home in this car. and so forth. And I learned everything there was about the Mazda. That was the days of the old rotary engine. And so the market started to pick up again, so I went back to the drawing board and did that. And I did several construction jobs and so forth. I even did stuff in the Tampa Bay Center when it was standing. Interior tenant space improvements, and did the same thing with several of the office buildings out near the University of South Florida. Some doctor's office, the big silver building, the glass building that's on the corner of Fletcher and Bruce B. Downs, or 30th Street there. I did several doctor's offices inside that building, tenant space improvement. And then I guess it was probably in '87. Well, let me go back. I was also a member of the Florida Residential Designers Association, which is a statewide organization, and I was actually state president of that organization twice. And it's now known as the American Institute of Building Design. They merged with a national association that's all over the United States. And so I did that. And I've always been of the opinion that if it's my profession, I'm going to be involved with a professional association that's creating the ways for us to make a living, because I don't want anybody taking anything away from us. So I did a lot of lobbying in Tallahassee when the architectural law in the state of Florida sunsets. I think it sunsets every 20 years or so. I was actually one of the people that was on that task force that helped rewrite that law and modernize it. But I finally got tired of dealing with subcontractors and so forth that never showed up when they're supposed to and so forth. So I kind of retired from that. And of course, after about 30 days, I was bored to tears. So I had built several real estate offices for people, and I had taken the test to have my license. So I finally activated my license, and I put it with one of the brokers that I had built his office. And it was back in '87, I guess it was. So basically, I've been in real estate, in addition to the 22 years that I had in the other field, for 31 years. So I got like 53 years of experience, okay? And I may not look it, but guys, I'm 73 years old, okay? That's awesome. And I still go strong. I still am very involved in the state level. I served as 2000 president of the Greater Tampa Realtors, and I was District 6 vice president of FR back in 2001, I believe it was. And I was back when we used to have, I know a lot of you haven't been in the business that long, but we used to have a program called T3. Does anybody remember T3? Yeah. That was a Windows-based MLS system, okay? And before that, we had dumb terminals, which is the old green screen monitors, and all you could do is pull stuff and you print it out on a dot matrix printer and so forth. And then back in, I guess it was '89, I got involved with the MLS committee at GTR, or then GTAR, and we ended up getting people to come on to a Windows platform, which was T3. And I was on that task force, and we had brokers all over the place that were so angry with us because they had to go out and buy actual computers. And some of them didn't know how to get them set up. And so I did some IT work for them. I went around to different offices, Smith & Associates, Tambay Realty, and I set up their networks for them in their offices so their computers could talk to each other. And we found out once we had the T3 program that the vendor lied to us. There were no broker reports. You could not figure out how many listings you had. You couldn't figure out what your agents were doing and so forth. And so I bought my first computer in '83, and I was real good with Multiplan, which then turned into Excel. So I created a bunch of Excel spreadsheets, and I created what's called a computer script. And we used to use a program called Procom Plus, and we ran this script, would pull the stuff out of the MLS, go through a program that a friend of mine wrote for me, and it would populate the spreadsheet so that the brokers could get their reports. And I just gave it to them for free. I didn't charge them a dime. Just, that was a thing that I did. And I served on the board of directors probably since about, I guess, maybe 1990, and ended up being president in 2000. And when I became president in 2000, the staff was communicating each other through AOL. So I brought the first T1 line into GTAR. I brought the first computers into GTAR. I hired an IT person to go in and set everything up where they could actually talk to each other by computers and so forth. So we got all that done. And of course, the MLS used to be shared with Pinellas County, Clearwater, and Pasco County. We had what's called a database sharing agreement. So everything got put into one database, and each person got to share it and so forth throughout the system. And then Pro decided when we went to an internet-based system to go with a different vendor than GTAR did. So that database kind of split, although we did get the agreement back to share the data again, so nobody was ever out, and we got that done. But with that complication, I picked up the phone because MFR MLS was created way back then, but it was just in the Orlando, Central Florida area. And I picked up the phone and I called their president of MFR, and I asked him to please invite the Greater Tampa Association of Realtors to join MFR MLS. And I told him, but you can't tell anybody that I'm the one that called you. You just got to do it, okay? And so I went in the back door and got that done. And they sent a letter. Susanna Madden, I don't know if any of you know her. She was president at the time. And they sent a letter to her, and the board looked at it, and the board decided to become a shareholder in MFR MLS. And in 2003, we became a shareholder in MFR MLS. The second year that we were on that board, they asked me to be treasurer, because since I was the one that got them in there, they wanted me to go up the ladder in MFR MLS. And when I became treasurer, I found out that there was no staff that was paid by MFR MLS. We had a contract with one of the shareholder associations to run the entire MFR MLS. And their bookkeeper was the one that was keeping the books for MFR MLS. And every time I asked to see the books that pertained to MFR MLS, I was given a sketchy report. And so I finally brought that to the attention of the board of directors, and I made a motion for us to become a standalone MLS, our own corporation, so that we didn't have to have one of the shareholders be the the one that ran the MLS. And I got a lot of static from that. But when we went to the NAR convention in New Orleans that year, I asked for Marilyn Wilson, who's with this huge national consulting firm that talks to associations and MLSs and brokers and so forth all across the country. And I asked for a meeting with that, and I had the president of MFR MLS with me, and we're sitting in the lobby of a hotel, and I just tell him, I want you to help us become a standalone corporation, and his mouth just about dropped to the floor, you know. And so we finally got the board to agree to do that, and we did that, and I don't know if you know this or not, but MFR MLS now is one of the largest MLSs in the country. We now own our own building, not only our own staff. We've just added Puerto Rico to your MLS, okay? How many of you all saw that on your
I saw you posted,
email?
yeah.
I posted it this morning. So any of you that have family or do business in Puerto Rico, you now have access to any of the listings in Puerto Rico. MFR MLS is now also going, it probably within the next 6 to 8 months, the name is going to change because we're going to become the vendor for other MLSs throughout the country. So basically, that's going to keep your costs down because we'll have other people paying the bills and so forth. So, you know, those are some of the things that I've done in the leadership role within our platform. And of course, I still am active in real estate. I don't do what most of you do with trying to get 20,000 listings a year and so forth, because you know I've slowed down a little bit, but I stay busy. I've got. I was just telling a couple of people I was sitting with over here that back in, I guess, 97 or 98, I had a company from Colorado call me to move them here, and I didn't tell you this little part. Originally, I was on my way back from a meeting that we had in St. Pete, from Pro when it used to be way down on 38th or whatever, okay? And I was on the way back across the Gandy Bridge, and my phone rings in the car, and yeah, I've been on a cell phone forever. And there was a detective from the City of Tampa Police Department, and he said, your EO gave me your number. He says, I've got a problem with a broker that won't release my house. They've done nothing to sell it and so forth and so on. So I said, well, you need to call back. And I gave him the name of the person to call back. I said, and you can file a complaint, to, you know, a grievance and so forth. And I said, it'll go to a committee and it'll go get taken care of. I says, but once you get the form to yourself, let the broker know that you're going to be doing this. So about a month later, I get a call from him, and he says, I did what you said. I called the broker and told him I was filling out the form, and he sent me a release of my listing. He says, can you sell it for me? I said, sure. He says, well, you know, you're the only person that I called that answered the phone. And he says, and this is back when he was first trying to get a hold of me. And so I sold this house for him over in Land O'Lakes area. And then I sold him another house. He and his wife sold him a house out in Fishhawk. And then he was one of the officers of the Police Benevolent Association in Tampa, and they had a building on Nebraska Avenue that I ended up listing for them. And that's the gentleman that I sold, that I transferred his company from Colorado. He was an internet entrepreneur. He had an internet system that did four-wheeled truck accessories and so forth. And then he had another one that was pet supplies, food and medicines and collars and all that stuff. They were a $10 million a year company back in 97 or 98. I don't remember which year it was. Well, I sold him that building. So I ended up getting both sides of that transaction for the building. So I turned one phone call to give somebody some help into three transactions right off the bat. Then once they got here and they moved in, I got them, and hooked up with a bank, and I got them hooked up with some IT people to get them set up and so forth. And I ended up finding each of the principals, there were 3 of them, a house to rent, because they didn't know where they wanted to live. And less than a year later, those same 3 principals, I sold each of them a house. So now I've got not 3 transactions, I'm up to 9. And then following that, I sold their youngest son and their youngest daughter a property each. So I'm up to, 11 transactions off of 1 phone call, okay? And so, when your phone rings, I don't care if you recognize the number or not, you answer it. If it's a robocall, you hit hang up, and then you go in and your call log and you hit block, okay? And then you'll never get a call from them again. So you got to answer the phone. No different that in 1983 when I first bought my first computer, I got into email and so forth. And by 87, I started using email in real estate. And I think it was in it was either 95, not 95, because 95 is when I put my first real estate website up. It was in 1995. And my wife and my friends and all my other real estate people said, "You're never going to sell real estate on the internet." Ha Look at where we're at today, okay? So I had an email that came in from New York. Somebody wanted to buy a house here in Tampa from $2 to $3 million. And of course, the average realtor then would ignore that email. I answered that email, okay? And it was an attorney out of New York that had sold an internet company that he and his friends from University of Florida had started way back when, even NASDAQ got started and so forth. They sold its company to Yahoo for $100 million, okay, in the 90s. So his share, he had a small share. His share was like $10 million, okay? So a friend of mine and I had done some programming. I was really good with spreadsheets, and I created a spreadsheet that did finance calculations, FHA, VA, standard loan, jumbo loan, and my buddy was a good programmer, and he programmed really in Visual Basic a program that would take, we go into MLS and we pull data, and it would just the 2-line data this is back in the day of the green screens, the dumb terminals. And he had a program that would take all the abbreviations from MLS and look them up in a dictionary that he wrote, and it would change them into real words. And then it would populate that into my spreadsheet, and then from my spreadsheet, we populated that into a Word document, and we could print out these things to use at open houses, okay? And back, Market Street Mortgage, they're not around anymore. They were out of Clearwater. They ended up seeing this program and they decided they wanted to buy it. And so we, this is way back in probably the early 90s. We put a price on it, $25,000, and they said, "We'll pay it." And then they came back and said, "We want an exclusive." Well, that's another $25,000, and they paid it. And so they didn't want anybody else to have it. And then they wanted they actually used this program, and they went out of business sometime after that. They got bought out by this major company and so forth. But we made $50,000 twice. Nice. Between 3 of us in the 90s on just that program. And then we created that program and made it into a CMA because there were no CMAs back in those days with the dumb terminals other than what was in MLS. And we created the CMA so that it would write the reports in what it's known as HTML, which is like an internet-based report. And you could actually then email this to clients and so forth, and they could open it up with their browser. And then what I did is I used that same CMA program that we wrote to send listings to clients before you could send listings to clients. Okay, there was no way to send them listings in the old system. Not even the T3 you could do that with, okay? In T3, you'd have to create a PDF and either email them this huge file, but I could actually put this stuff on my website in a special folder and put a link to it, and they could open up. And that's how I ended up selling this guy that sent me the email to buy the $1 million house. I sold him a $2 million house cash. My side was 3.5%. Okay? So you got to answer the emails too, guys. Okay? Because there are people out there that are serious buyers. The other thing I want to bring to your attention too is the fact that, you've heard me mention the Realtor Care Foundation over the years. I happen to be president this year, and I've actually changed how that works because we weren't getting enough people using it. We used to use the HUD 80% of median income table, which in this market, there's just no houses to buy that would meet those income levels, okay? And so beginning of the year, I brought to the board, and David Rankin, who's not here now, did the research for me, because he's the attorney for RCF, that we could use the HUD 120% of mean income tables. I also increased our coverage area from only being Hillsborough County when I took over RCF to now covering 5 counties. We do Hillsborough, we do Manatee, Pinellas, Pasco, and Polk counties now. So this is free money. This is not a down payment assistance. This is a grant program. It's a first-time home buyer grant program. There's probably a 16-page application that you fill out. All the tables are there for all the different counties. If they meet that income level, they qualify. And I can tell you that just this past month, September, we gave out 6 grants. Tomorrow, I have a selection committee meeting. We're going to look at 5 more applications, which we've already previewed, and we'll probably give grants to in October. So that's 11 families that are going to be able to buy a house that were not able to buy a house before because we're giving them a $5,000 grant. They never have to pay it back. They have to live in the house 3 years. If they sell it before 3 years, they have to pay it back. But if they live there for longer than 3 years, so 3 years and 1 day, they don't have to pay it back, okay? So it's a grant program. RCF also has a community development program that we do where we give money to, like last year we gave $5,000 to the Girls and Boys Club that's in downtown Tampa, right next to the, I can't remember the name of the school. It's a black Catholic school there, and they do an after school program. So we gave them $5,000. We gave them all our old computers from GTR. We sent our IT people over there and got it set up, and they have now an after-school study room within that Boys and Girls Club. Didn't cost them a dime, okay? And that was through RCF. We just sent.
So that's a Realtor Care Foundation. That's specific to GTAR, right? Or
correct. No.
Well, I know, but you guys are the ones that fund it, right?
We fund it. We do get donations from some from HUD.
Yeah.
You know that home license plate that you see on the back of my car?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We get probably 3 times a year from the sale of that license plate, $20,000.
Oh, nice.
Okay? From the state of Florida. We get some donations from corporations. I can tell you that, is Kevin still here?
I think he left.
Okay. Kevin Overstreet, he closed one of those for me just the other day. Had a school teacher. There's 6 people in the family, which means that between her and her husband, they can make $89,780 a year and still qualify for the $5,000 grant with a 6-family household,
right.
6-person household. And so she got a $5,000 grant. Kevin Overstreet, in fact, I think I posted that. It's a picture of Kevin and the 2 people and myself in Facebook that shows us holding this big check for $5,000. And he made a commitment to us that starting the 1st, every closing that ITA does from now on, $25 is going to be donated to the Realtor Care Foundation, okay? And in fact, I wrote an article, I put it in Facebook. It's going to come out in the GTR magazine, this, I think it's October, November issue, about RCF and what all the things that we do. We give scholarships to students that are going to study and master or major in anything that's real estate related studies and so forth. And we have the disaster relief. We just gave a $3,000 check to NAR because that's who does the collection for all these hurricanes that have gone through to help, donate a large sum of money that they collect from all the different associations and funds like ourselves to give to the Red Cross to do the things they need to do there and so forth.
Let me ask you this: as involved as you've been, because from the early on, it sounds like, right? You were involved in local, and he's a current, just got elected as board of directors again for Greater Tampa Realtors. We have board of directors. Jim's on the board of directors for Pinellas Realtor Organization. We've got I know Jim Hurley is on CPAR, sorry. And so we've got a lot of coverage in these things. Myself included, all right, and admittedly never got overly involved at the board, right? Encourage people, are there openings in need, right, at the local boards, and encourage them why they should.
Okay. I can tell you that over the years, my involvement, every office that I've ever been with, I've given reports and so forth to. And when I used to be with Tambay Realty, which was one of the biggest companies, local, independent companies in the Tampa Bay area, I had one guy that used to always moan about MLS this and MLS that and MLS the other. So I said, well, I challenge you to join the MLS committee. And I said, in fact, I want you to go with me to the next one. And I brought him. And he sat there and he listened and he learned, and he says, well, I never knew that GTR did all these things. I said, that's because nobody ever comes to the general membership meetings. You get the same 40 people that come to the general membership meeting out of 11,000 members. The same 40 people are the only ones that continue to show up. And he ended up actually serving on the board. And
it's hard to complain when you're on the board.
When you know, you really have no idea what your local and your state and your national association do for you. Did every one of you understand that if you're a member of GTR, you have a free subscription to Inman News? Did you all know that?
I didn't until you told me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you think I get all these things that I post and so forth? And you got to read. You can't have that disease RDR. Realtors don't read. And so there's a lot of it. Just this morning I read where the national credit score is, the average credit score now is 703. Nobody in this room probably knew that before. No. Okay. So there's good information there. You have to do research. Listen, I still attend classes, okay, because there's something new every day. I attended Bob's 100K Club classes twice, just to get an overview of what this company is all about and so forth. And I found a home forever. I wouldn't, when I leave here, I'm going to be in a jar. Okay. That's just the bottom line. And I had my own office at one time, and when the market crashed in 2005, I was spending $12,000 a month to keep it open. I was over on Dale Mabry Highway in this big office and so forth, and I finally told everybody, I'm going to close it down in 3 months. You got 3 months to find a place to go. And that's when I ended up over at FHR. And $4,000 a year is a hell of a lot cheaper than $12,000
a month.
Okay. So, but
you like me, but he likes my compensation plan.
Exactly. But the issue is that we have a tech user group the second Tuesday of every month at GTR. you know, the last couple of classes we had were on doing a podcast. We had one on using Evernote. We have one on using eConnections. We had one on using HomeSnap. I mean, these are all tools that you guys get for free from being a member of MFR, MLS. I mean, do any of you even know what eProperty Watch is? I can tell you that this has been around a while, okay? Because I sold a guy a townhouse about 12 years ago, and I put him on eProperty Watch. And every 90 days, eProperty Watch, without me doing a thing, automatically sends him a drip campaign telling him what his house is worth every 90 days. And it does fluctuate. I just listed his townhouse and already under contract before I even had a chance to load it into paperless pipeline, you know, because he said he wouldn't use anybody else but me. But I sold a house that he was in the hood, because when he first came here from Puerto Rico, that's where they took him.
Right.
Okay? And he bought this house, and I mean, I remember that there were shootings and all kinds of things in that neighborhood, and he just had a little baby and wanted to get him out, okay? And now that kid's 12 years old now, and I had sold him this townhouse, so I sold him a townhouse, and now I'm selling his townhouse, and they're moving somewhere upstate, and I'll refer him to somebody up there. So, but that's because I stayed in touch with him. You got to touch people. And, you know, I called a guy the other day that I was driving to an appointment. I just picked up the phone and I dialed his number and asked him how he was doing, how his wife was doing, is he enjoying his house and so forth. Never said, hey, send me a referral. Just said, you know, I just wanted to check. We hadn't talked in a while, just wanted to check with you. Hung up. He calls me the other day. I'm now sending his brother in New York listings to come and move here, okay? I didn't ask him for that.
No.
I just was his friend. So that's you know, you just have to do that stuff. You have to stay in touch with the people that you deal with.
It's not that, okay, a couple things I want you to take away, because I know we're getting near the end, all right? Couple takeaways here. First of all, if you really took advantage of everything that is provided by our local board, the Florida Realtors, the regional, and my Florida Regional MLS, and the National Association of Realtors, all right, as much as we gripe and complain, and trust me, I'm a member of about 18 boards, all right? So take your dues and multiply them, all right? Because if you all want to be, I'd like to be a member of Southwest Volusia.
Yeah.
How big is Southwest Volusia? Volusia's not that big, so how big can Southwest Volusia be? Anyway, no, I'm not complaining about it, but anyway, when you start to look at take advantage of what you get off, because, you know, here's the nice thing. Majority of us are GTR, Pro, West Pasco, right? In this room, okay? Between those three, there are a lot of realtors represented by that group.
Mm-hmm.
But because of that, they can keep our dues low and offer a ton. All right, in the whole scheme of things, you start to look at what our local portion of your dues are, right, and what you get for that. Go to the calendars and look at the classes. Talk about the tech user group, all these things that are available to you, right, that are at your disposal if you take it. And again, you don't need to use them all. I'm not saying that, all right, but before we open our mouth to complain, let's think about, hey, look, why don't I take advantage of what's going on there? Number one. Number two, second big takeaway I just heard Tom say is, you know what? It's still about relationships. As high tech as he is, right? And all cool stuff that is, and as long as he's been high tech, all right, he still picked up the phone to make a phone call. All right? Yep. You don't know what that's all about, come check out 100K, because that's all we teach, right? Go get in front of people and then stay in front of them, not by asking for referrals, but just being nice,
yep.
Right? Just be caring and sharing that. Anybody have a quick question for Tom before we let him go? Yes?
I do. Just a question since you're on the board. Any talks of eliminating that co-brokerage fee that different agencies put out there?
Okay, let me answer it for him because it can be a long answer. The answer is the co-brokerage fee, the minus portion, all right? You're talking about 3% minus $295 or something?
Right.
Okay, yeah. stop the tape, all right, because we can't even talk about that. Because it's an offer of compensation, all right, that the other broker is offering us. It's, here's my, and I get everybody's frustration with it, right? I totally get it. Here's the problem. We have a problem with 3% minus 295, but we don't have a problem with 2.5%. All it is an offer of compensation, right? It's the amount of the total commission that the listing brokerage is offering a cooperating broker, okay? Because it says in there, it can be a percentage of the purchase price, a flat fee, or a combination thereof. All it is their offering of their compensation, okay? Now, I agree with you. I'd rather them call it, why don't we just call it 2.64% rather than 3% minus 295? I'm with you, right? But it is what it is, and everybody understand this is a teaching moment for me. It is unethical. It's an ethics violation for you to attempt to negotiate that off at the time of offer. The only time you could have had that discussion was before the first substantive showing of the property. Yeah. And quite frankly, if you don't like it, then make sure your buyers sign an agreement with you. That means they got to make up the difference. If you don't get blank percent, then your exclusive buyer agency agreement gets X percent. Now, for me personally, I'm also not a big fan of charging our buyers a transaction fee. I know I get pushback from all of you. It's your business. You run it the way you want to run it. But I'm here to tell you, the $295 fee that you get, all right, you may be costing yourself 5 introductions to other people because they left that closing table with it. You know what? They made $8,000 and then they took another $295 from me. Something doesn't taste right. Right? That's my personal opinion, right? As far as you charging on the buyer side. You do what you want to do. I'm just not a big fan of it because at the end of the day, I think I'd rather have the 5 transactions. I'd rather be working with the guy's brother than anybody else. All right?
There's 2 real estate amendments on the ballot. Can you guys talk about that at all?
Amendment 3, I know, and then okay, what are the real estate amendments out there?
Both of them have to do with capping the property taxes and on different properties that are not homesteaded, and the other one has to do with sales tax on leases of commercial properties. And we've been trying for years to get that taken away. State of Florida is one of the only ones that charges sales tax on leases.
Commercial leases.
Commercial leases in the state of Florida. I mean, in the country, pretty much. Okay, so we're trying to get rid of that. FR has been working on that for years to try to get rid of it. The other one is to cap. It's actually going to. The other one is to raise the homestead exemption another $50K. That's what it's for.
Now, on anything, okay. It depends on where you come from, but anytime we have situations like this, right? They've done studies. I was on the group that took a look at the commercial property one in particular. Commercial property, anytime you reduce a tax on a business, generally that business has budgeted items. For instance, my point was this, because there were some people pushing back against that. I said, well, here's the thing. If we reduce it by 7%, okay, or whatever it is, okay, instead of charging, and they're talking about scaling it back, but if you reduce it by 7%, as a business owner, is it more likely that I'd be now chance to increase my square footage that I'm going to lease by 7%? Hey, now I can afford, now that same 7%, that same dollar in my budget was going to, most of it to here and then 7% to the state of Florida, now would it go there? And now does that landlord now get more income and therefore have to pay? So they were looking at, we're going to lose 7%. I said, well, it's not, you're looking at a zero-sum game, right?
You're voting yes. You're voting yes to get rid of that. Is that right, Tom?
Okay. Yeah. And I'll take a look at it too. I'll be honest, because now I just re-registered to vote in Florida, all right, because I've been voting in Tennessee. Yeah. So now I'm going to pay attention a little bit. And so I'll take a look at them and see and maybe just give, hey, here's what you know.
You can actually see the amendments if you go to whatever county you vote in. You can pull the sample ballot and the actual amendments are written there.
Has Florida Realtors come out with any recommendations on those yet?
They're
Take a look
supporting
at-
them both.
Okay, they're supporting them both. Okay,
Yeah.
so, yeah, Florida. Now, again, we don't go blindly on all things, but you still read up onto it, but if that's what the question.
And the Amendment 4 is another one that they won't publicly say it, but they want to support it. That has to do, state of Florida is the only state, I think there's 2 other states in the country that don't return people's voting rights and so forth after they've served whatever they did for
Certain
their
time,
their
Felons.
and so
Right.
forth, and which means that they can't borrow money, they can't
Right.
do anything. So they won't really publicly say it, but they're really supporting that so that, you know, you got some people that make mistakes and they do stuff that they shouldn't do, and they, you know, they get spanked and they got to do 3 months or 6 months in jail, but it's a felony, and they never get their right to vote, and they can't go borrow money, and so forth and so on. So most of the other states, after they've served their time and or probation, they get those returned. All those rights are returned. So that's Amendment 4.
Cool. All right, and we have run over. Anybody else? One last question. Anybody else had one? Did that answer your question? I get it. I understand the frustration, right? It's just that we can't have a dialogue, or you can't dialogue about compensation, all right? Because there are antitrust laws about, hey, look, there's antitrust laws about price fixing on the listing side, and in the co-broke portion, it is what it is. That's what they've elected to offer, right? And if you don't like it, that's fair enough. I understand why you might not like it. Then you have to have a game plan in place that does not include trying to negotiate this at the time of offer, because it is unethical, and you could be facing an ethics violation for doing so.
Puerto Rico,
Yeah.
being added. I don't know if I read it correctly or not, but they said check to make sure brokerage. Is that something that we are?
Do you know, the first I saw it was today, so I'll take a look at it and see. I don't know. I think for part of my Florida Regional MLS, we'll have access.
It's just like another county, except it's Puerto Rico.
So since we're a member of my Florida Regional
all the
MLS, we should
same
be good.
MLS rules apply. So compensation, all that stuff, all applies. It's an offer of compensation. If you have family down there and you want to list their property, you can list it here for down there.
The way I understood it was that if you wanted to list or sell in Puerto Rico, you need to be licensed in Puerto Rico. You cannot do that, because that's what I read in the news.
We'll take we'll dig it deeper. Again, I just saw this, so I'll take a look at it and let you know. Obviously, it's different. I mean, it's, you know, because I'm with you. My initial thought would be probably not. My initial thought, since I'm not a member, like I can't list property in Georgia because I'm not a licensed broker in Georgia, right? So
Yeah, that may be because it's not in the state of Florida. You're right.
That's correct.
You may be right on that
That's what I'm thinking as
one.
well. You'll have access to the data,
You have access, yeah.
but you can't list a property there because we're not licensed there. Now, you can get a referral fee like you always could.
But
you still have access to
it's in the
data.
100K club. You can read it.
Please.
After your rant about germs and flu season.
Yeah.
I just wanted to let everyone know I probably washed my hands 30 times this morning.
Nice.
Making the cupcakes, so maybe it's weird.
All right, okay. Take those. All right, good deal. We're about to wrap up. If you guys have any questions of me, thanks for coming out. Jerry?
Can I just say something very
Yeah.
quickly?
Yeah.
I forgot to mention this.
You're past your 37 seconds.
We are looking for property managers to add to our team. If you know anybody out there that's looking to be a property manager, they need to have a Florida real estate license, but I'd appreciate any referrals for anybody you know out there that is looking to get into this business.
Awesome. If you could do me a favor, all right, guys especially, if we could stack, I remembered this time, Jim, okay? Stack the chairs in groups of 8. We get this room for free, and one way we do it is because we put the stuff away, all right? We've had it for free for the last 8 years. It's a beautiful thing, 4-letter F word, F that I like.
One
Free.
more quick
Okay?
thing.
Yeah, Tom.
One more quick thing, so you all know. This past year, we did over 500 classes at GTR, okay? We are now doing classes in Wesley Chapel at Pebble Creek, and we're doing classes in Riverview at the I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, I'll post it. But the issue is that this task force that I'm going to today is called the Engagement Task Force. We're trying to bring GTR to the members because we have 3,500 of you that physically live in the Wesley Chapel, New Tampa area.
Wow.
And we have 3,700 of you that physically live in the Riverview, Valrico, Brandon area.
Yeah.
So we're trying to bring, so you don't have to come all the way to Kennedy Boulevard to go to a class.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Great. Give Tom a hand. Thank you very much, Tom. Appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Awesome. Great. Yeah, if you can stack the chairs, that'd be great.